turn off and turn on, turn off and turn on. You can see the changes. Hey guys, SB Architects here. Today I'm going to show you render passes in D5 Render. For example, we have adjusted our scene, and after that we are going to render that. As you can see here, we are using D5 Render, but nearly every render engine can export render elements for your renders. I think the only software which has not render element ID is Twinmotion, but for the rest, V-Ray, Corona, D5 and Enscape, this tutorial is for you. You can implement what you learned in this lesson. But before beginning the tutorial, I would just like to ask you to like this tutorial. It's going to add this channel to growing up, and please subscribe. I'm gonna make similar tutorials in this channel so you won't miss them out. Alright, let's get started. In the render settings, we have some settings here. For instance, aspect ratio of the window, we can change this. As you can see here, we have some previews for the render. These areas are dark and these areas are bright, which is going to be rendered in the file. Once we have decided the aspect ratio, we can increase our render size by using this custom. Those pixel sizes belongs to this aspect ratio. If I click 5 to 5, we can see the width and height value are the same. For the demonstration, I'm gonna change the aspect ratio to window, and after that we can decide the channel options which we are going to be render. We have an icon here. Let's click that and we can see our options. Sky mask for to change the background after rendering the image. This is ambient occlusion, which is used to increase the details on the corners. And the same material ID works as sky mask. You can separate your furnitures in the post-production. And also we have reflection layers, which is used to control reflection strength in the post-production. Transparent layer also works as sky mask, but this transparent layer is designed for instance, glass, other alpha channel textures, maybe, I don't know, text on the wall, etc. So these were the render passes we can export. Let's try them, how they works. Therefore, I'm going to check all of those. And for the render size, I won't change the render pixel manually. I'm gonna hit the 4K, it's going to be faster to adjust the pixel sizes. Of course, render speed is going to be slowed down, but we need to see details in our render. 4K is convenient setting for this. And let's click render. Alright, here we have our renders. And this is our diffuse render. I mean basic render. This is the render without any post-production and no adjusted settings in Photoshop. But it's still elegant, I think. But I think this render can reach a higher level. And we can turn this one into a more realistic render with the help of post-production renders. This is ambient occlusion. If we get closer to that, we can see some shadows near objects. In the real life, objects can produce shadows like this, but they are very bright. Sometimes we cannot see them. If we compare this render with the basic render, under the table we cannot see any shadow here, or between the brick and the ceiling we have no shadow here. If we go to ambient occlusion, we have some shadow. As you can see, this area is dark, this area is bright. Let's move on. And we have reflection post-production layer. Everything is black except the ceiling surface. Let's go back to the real image. We can realize some reflection here on the top of the window corner. And we have also here, but this one is more prominent. If you want to increase the reflection settings or strength in your render, you can see the reflection post-production. Let's go to transparent. I think transparent layer is very important because this is going to be used as a mask for the using the ambient occlusion and also reflection post-production. Let's go to ambient occlusion. And in the ambient occlusion, we can see shadows in the building. But when it comes to combining the ambient occlusion between the main render, your Windows glass can be darkened. If you want to escape that, you can use the transparent layer for the Windows mask. And also we have a nearly same layer here, which is Sky Mask. As you can understand from its name, it's a mask layer, but is used for the sky. If you want to change the sky, you can use this mask. And of course, we have very powerful material ID. This is a very comprehensive mask channel. As you can see here, every object has different color. And by using these colors, we can make selection in our render and change time settings. Alright, let's get into the job. Let's start with ambient occlusion. Let's hit Ctrl+A and copy and paste on the main layer of our render. And we change it to multiply. It seems a bit strange, but if we change the opacity, well, we get some details, but our scene gets darker. We can fix this with two methods I'm going to show, which is the first one is not using multiply. We can use soft light. Instead of darken the image, it makes your scene brighter. And with that, your shadows will be more prominent. For instance, let's zoom in and look the corner closer. We can see the changings here. Now we have shadows here and more shadows and brighter scene, of course. But also your ceiling brighter too. We are going to get rid of this using the render ID, but not now. Now I'm going to show you the second way of using the ambient occlusion. Let's go back to the normal and I'm gonna duplicate this one. Go to filter and use camera raw filter. My purpose is here increase the area of the bright and decrease the area of the darks. To do that, I'm going to use shadow options. Let's increase that. And here we have a brighter scene, but it's not enough. Let's just increase them also. And also we have tone curve here. This one is also very useful. I'm looking here. I want to balancing them between the dark and white. I don't want to lose my dark corner here. But also I don't want to have a very dark corner. Something like that. These settings can be changed according to your renders. There we go. Let's try to change exposure. As you can realize, the dark colors will be produce shadows in your render. Alright, we can use this one. Let's click OK. And this time we can use multiply. There we go. Our scene has its own color and our grass and landscape is not very dark, and we have shadows, detailed shadows, and looks more elegant comparing before. Turn off and turn on. You can see the changes exactly under the table. And for the vegetation is very important. As you can see, when it's off, our vegetations are flying on top of each other. If we turn on, now they are landing. This is okay. Now we can turn off the ambient occlusion window and we can move with the reflection. Let's copy and paste here, and we can close this one also. For this window we have lots of darkness here. With that reason we don't use these darken multiply settings. We use lighting, screen and their neighbor option. As you can see here, I'm hover over them and trying to see the results. For this one, colors are changing, but for the screen, colors are not changing, only we get some brighter areas. We can use this one, but first we need to decrease the opacity. For instance, if you don't want to use this reflection layer on your sun shadings, we can use material ID. Let's place it in our scene. We are going to make a selection for this blue. They are not the same. This blue has a different tone. So we are going to use Magic Wand tool. Let's click that and we are going to turn off sample all layers, turn off continuous and decrease the tolerance. So if we increase this and click, it can select a different color here. But if we decrease the tolerance, it will select less color. But this time maybe we can make this 50 and this can get the job. And now we have a selection for the mask. I just click to turn off and go to the reflection layer and click the mask. But this only works now a reverse map. So we are going to invert. Let's click the mask here and go to image and under the adjustment there, let's click invert. There we go. We have increased the reflection under the ceiling, but reflection is not increasing for the sunshades. With the help of the material ID. Once we have opened the material ID, I'm going to show you something else. For instance, let's make a selection for the wall, brick wall, and let's turn off the eye to see what we have. And now I'm going to make a layer, create a layer, for instance, hue saturation. Now this hue saturation layer has its own mask for this brick. And now if I change the settings here, only this brick will be changed. Now I have a blue brick wall, or I can decrease the lighting or make it brighter. You can try anything you want. Without this material ID selection, you cannot select this brick because we have lots of vegetation here and it's very hard to cope with that selection between those vegetations. But I think the original color was better, so I go back here. And maybe I can use a green wall. Yeah. There we go. For the last step, I'm going to change the sky with the help of the sky mask. Let's just copy this one to our scene as before. Let's click the sky mask, and in order to do that, we are going to select all of the sky mask here and copy with the Ctrl+C. And for instance, I want to change the exposure of the sky. Let's go to exposure setting here and place it. Now I'm gonna hit the Alt and click this white place here. Now I can see the mask and I can place the mask which I copied before and hit Ctrl+D to deselect. And to see what we have here, now we can click this exposure again. By the way, we can turn off the real sky map and we can change the exposure now. But as before, we are going to invert the map from the image, adjustment and invert. As you can see, now we have a brighter scene. Since we have a brighter scene here, we need a gloom here with this direction. In order to make a bloom effect, we are going to create a layer, empty layer, and we go to basic brush and hit D to reset the color of the paint. And I right click here, increase the size, something like this. And if you alt right click from keyboard, you can change the size and also hardness like so. And I'm gonna first, let's pick up a color. Let's hit Alt and click this color. And we click on our new layer. Once we have done that, we are going to change the lighting settings. We can make this soft light and also we can decrease the opacity. By the way, you can assign a color onto that without remaking your bloom effect in the layer 6. You can just go to this adjustment and you can go to photo filter. And now we are going to use this icon. With this icon, this layer changing will be assigned only the layer under the previous layer. So this layer affects only this one, not those, with the help of this icon. Now, with the help of this, we can increase density with the warming filter. And you can see the difference. Let's turn off and on. Also, if you want to see the yellow light more prominent, you can go to overlay or screen or lighten. I choose lighten here. And if we increase the opacity here, we have a very nice sun glaring effect in our scene. Let's click OK. And this is what we get. Alright guys, this is how you can use render layers in your renders. You can use this nearly for every render engine which have render element export options. I think only render engine which doesn't have is Twinmotion, but in Corona, V-Ray, D5 and Enscape you can use render elements. By the way, we have supporters for the channel. If you want to support the channel also, you can go to my Patreon page and support me there. And also in my Patreon page you can find more advanced tutorials, more libraries and the project files which I prepared for the channel. Alright, until next time, have a nice day.